Hello, everyone, and welcome to Boldly Go, Drinking, a product of the Wednesday Night Gentlemen. This is a show dedicated to talking about and reviewing the latest Star Trek episodes as they come out. Today, we'll be talking about Remembrance, Season 1, Episode 1 of Picard. As a warning, this show is full of spoilers, so consider yourself warned. I am your host, Tactic Angel, and with me is Midget Radio, my murderous socialist friend.
Hello.
Hello, Midget Radio. How are you today?
Doing well, Tactic Angel. How are you?
I'm like 95%.
95. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I feel like that's more than usual, actually.
I'm thinking on the health side in particular, not like mental, spiritual, all that stuff.
Sure, that's more
we're just
C+
talking about
territory. Okay.
And really, you got to think about like where my 100% is, because I don't go to the gym a lot.
Sure. So it's a handicapped 100%.
My 100% is like a B+.
That's solid, man. That's solid.
So we're 95% there. We're like 84% on like a big picture thing.
Not bad.
All right. Well, that was fantastic and a wonderful aside. But we usually try to keep this show to a reasonable length.
True. Yeah.
And we fail.
Yeah.
A lot. So, as this title might imply, we are talking about Star Trek, and we are doing it while drinking. Midget Radio, are you doing it?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
What are you doing?
I'm doing the still today.
Still House?
Yeah, the still house.
Oh,
yeah. It's just so good.
I am so sad that you cannot buy that in Illinois right now.
That's fucking terrible. Yeah, I'm about to finish this one off, too.
I wrote a letter to them. And it was like, "Dear esteemed gentlemen."
Remember that time when we were going to do open letters on this show?
Oh, you want me to read that one off?
I feel like this is a candidate.
Okay. I might do that because...
Maybe a little violin in the background?
No. Well, maybe. Maybe something like soft but purposeful.
Yeah.
So I'm drinking 114 Old Granddad. I'm going to drink this every time I watch an episode and think, Patrick Stewart looks really old.
Yes, he's quite old.
Is he 114 yet?
He might be.
It kind of feels that way. I almost drank something that was called 1810 because that looked like the year he was born.
Yeah, even in Federation time.
Anyway, so we're gonna talk about this show. Let's just get this first impressions thing out of the way.
Okay.
First impressions, Midget Radio. We watched the first episode.
Yeah.
How you feeling? What are you thinking?
Honestly, like, to keep it as brief as possible, overall, my feeling is promising. And I will say, I actually said this a couple of times, that this premiere episode is at least, even though it's not saying much, 8.5 million times better than anything that's been on Discovery so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how multiplication works with extremely small numbers.
Yes.
I would say for the most part, I wasn't impressed.
Okay.
But I wasn't like dismayed either.
Yeah.
I think what we got was the start of a mystery box plot.
Yeah.
And essentially this is going to be probably 8 episodes of mostly just meh.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it'll mostly be forgettable, and it's not going to do much for Star Trek fans. This is like space adventure show in space with elements of Star Trek. Like Star Trek sets and characters, but
yeah,
there wasn't any Star Trek in this episode.
I may disagree with you a little bit about that.
All right. Well then, let's go through this. We'll run through it. I got a synopsis.
Okay.
And then we can just start from there.
Okay.
So the show starts out with Picard dreaming about being back on the Enterprise D. He's playing cards with Data. Mm-hmm. Mars blows up. He wakes up. Meanwhile, in Boston, a girl named Dodge's enjoying her evening with her boyfriend. Some Romulans beam into her apartment, kill her boyfriend, and try to kidnap her. She murders the face off of all of them.
Yeah.
Afterwards, she closes her eyes and sees the man who can solve the mystery box plot.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I could write any more of the plot without just like going through the whole thing. This is a mystery box, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even though I'm not extremely thrilled about mystery box plot,
Yeah.
and you are a little bit more positive on it, I don't think that we can say this isn't a mystery box plot.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't really. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's a problem with that. But yeah, I mean, it is.
I don't know that there is either, but as I was watching the show, it was just like, wow, if I were keeping an actual list of all of the unanswered questions here, it would be long. And I did keep most of that list.
Yeah. It is a long list, yeah.
So, I mean, so it starts out Dream with Data near Mars. They're playing cards.
Yeah.
I guess Mars explodes like the whole thing.
I don't think the whole, I mean, maybe in his dream, I don't think that's what happens. I think like part of the backstory is of this is that there was an attack at Utopia Planitia. I don't think that means the whole planet blew up though.
In the opening credits, they kind of show the planet as somewhat broken apart.
Okay. I don't really know. I don't really know.
I don't know either. I didn't dislike this scene up until the point when you hear the glass shatter.
Oh, I don't care.
It's just one of those things when you're watching, you're just like, all right, well, that was an interesting way to end a scene.
Yeah.
So Picard dreams of glass being made out of glass and not transparent aluminum. It just seems weird.
Sure.
It's fine.
I have no comment on that.
And it's fun. You see Data interacting with Picard. I feel like maybe this isn't fair. I feel like Brent Spiner can play Data in his sleep. And Data felt a lot more consistent than Picard did.
I mean, I guess as far as like Data from TNG versus Data now, yeah. Which isn't really that surprising.
Yeah. I guess he is kind of a flat line. But he's like so interesting too. Like,
well, he's also a fucking dream.
Yeah. So he should be. Well, yeah, and that is fair because it's like he should be as we remember him because he's dead.
Yeah.
And so you'd hope that Picard would like remember him as he was.
He may be a little pudgier around the cheeks, but what are you gonna do?
But maybe and maybe the reason why Picard feels a little bit like a stranger is because we haven't seen him in 20 years.
Yeah.
Apparently he's had like serious problems.
I guess.
So we move on to the attack on the boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah, no. There's an attack and he's killed, whatever, and she runs away.
That was very sad.
Well, she beats everybody's ass and then runs away. Yeah. I was getting strong. I was getting like a strong Firefly vibe. Oh, totally. Yeah, she's totally River Tam. Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, we're doing that.
Whatever. Yeah.
I guess she was activating. You could tell she was activating because someone said,
yeah,
she's activating.
Yeah.
She's activating.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I would have rewritten that line.
That was helpful.
So she runs away. Mm-hmm. Is the next scene the actual scene with the reporter?
I think so, maybe. Yeah.
I watched this twice.
Okay.
To be as fair as possible to it.
Yeah.
And to make sure that I wasn't just being stupid.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure I wasn't being stupid.
Okay.
I deleted none of my notes.
Good.
They were all smart. They were all smart notes.
I'm sure they were.
So there's an interview with the reporter. She's coming to talk about the 10th anniversary of the explosion of Romulus, which never happened in the original timeline, but whatever.
Well, yeah, it did.
No, it only happened in the Star Trek movie.
Yeah. But that started in the original timeline, and then they go back in time, and then we get the JJ verse. Remember how explicitly that was explained to us in that fucking movie?
I don't believe that. They're completely separate properties.
Oh God. Okay.
So apparently it blew up, and that just annoys me.
I mean, I know, yeah.
Because the Romulans are neat.
Yeah, the Romulans are fucking awesome. Yeah.
And now it's just like, we're not going to do that anymore. You're like, great.
I mean, I don't think that's the end of the Romulans, but yeah.
But like, because one star blew up in the Romulan Empire, how many planets are in the Romulan Empire?
I have no idea.
Do you think it's one?
I don't know.
I think it's hundreds.
I mean, where are all the humans really in? Like, are most of the humans in the Federation? Aren't they mostly on Earth? There's probably some on Mars, like right where, but I don't know how like thoroughly terraformed Mars is at this point. And I don't know what other planets they're really on, unless they're in Starfleet. So I don't know.
No, because they go out there and like in the Silicon Avatar, like they're like, I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna live on this planet. We're gonna make this planet.
In the one village on the
we're gonna have
the entire fucking planet.
We've gotten a lot of exceptionally ethnic Irish people. They're going to settle here.
Right here.
Later, we're going to have a bunch of Scottish people and Beverly's grandmother.
Oh God, yeah.
They are going to live on Haunted Planet. in one place. Hey, at least their planets usually have more than one biome.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
But not always.
Not always.
This is Thunderstorm Planet. It's like, I've been here before. No, this is a different Thunderstorm Planet. So, whatever. It seems to me that if our sun was going to explode, science would tell us that probably hundreds, if not thousands of years before that happened.
I don't know what the circumstances are around that. So I don't intend to like pass judgment on it. I agree with you in principle that it's a stupid J.J. Abrams level idea. Right, because it's so fucking creatively bankrupt. What's the most dramatic thing we can do? Let's blow up a whole planet,
sun,
and
a whole solar system.
Yeah, let's do it because it's so big, and yeah. So I will say this: thus far, at least, they have taken a shitty idea, and at least done a little bit of something with it that is more interesting. I like the stuff surrounding the rescue of Romulans. I like that there was a aid mission after that was somewhat controversial for reasons that make sense.
Why? No, explain that to me. Because like so as far as I can tell, what happened was there are 900 million Romulans over here, and they need a ride, which actually doesn't seem like that many, because like a lot more humans live on Earth than 900 million.
Maybe they're in separate, maybe they are on other planets, like you said. I don't fucking know.
Well, 900 million for Romulus seems low.
Yeah.
But then they're like...
Maybe there was a bit of an event. I don't know. What the fuck? Maybe some people did get off the planet and they didn't. I don't know.
So Romulus is gonna get blowed up by the star, and 900 million people are going to die unless the Federation helps. So you're like, let's think about this. I feel like the Federation's going to help.
I don't know. Romulans? I don't know.
Like 20 years ago, the Romulans helped defeat the Dominion.
I know, but I don't know what's happened in those subsequent 20 years.
Okay. Well,
who the fuck knows?
This is going to go a little bit to my point that I'll probably talk about at some point. Or maybe I'll talk about it now. I kind of feel like there needs to be a lot of world building that happens in this show.
Yeah. Because
the concepts that you are putting forward here, like, the veneer is somewhat familiar. Like, I see Patrick Stewart, and he's playing a character who says his name is Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah.
And he's in a thing called the Federation, but like there's some pretty fundamental differences here that I feel like I need to understand as a viewer. Because the idea that Kronos is going to have a major problem in Star Trek 6 because Praxis blew up. Right. And we had what? Unremitted hostility between the Federation stretching all the way back to Enterprise.
Yeah.
Before there was a Federation to that day. And then they're just like, nope, peace agreement.
Yeah.
The whole thing's off. And that's without the Klingons ever doing anything to help save the Federation. Right? They didn't fight off the Dominion before we decided that we were going to help them.
In
Star Trek 6.
The peace accords, right? Yeah, in Star Trek 6. Yeah, okay.
There was nothing that the Klingons did to earn, in the traditional sense, their salvation. Yeah. The reason why they were saved is because that's what the Federation does.
Yeah, but what the fuck? How did Jim Kirk feel about that?
He didn't really like it. He wanted to retire.
So there you go. Who knows? Like it could be a different administration running things in Starfleet. They had the attack on Mars that was I guess fueled by androids or whatever. That could have been part of the decision. I don't know. All I'm saying is that the way this episode is right now, it's not remotely out of character. It's not. It doesn't feel completely out of bounds at this point. It makes perfect sense to me.
Why?
And who knows how the fucking Romulans were after the goddamn Dominion War? Maybe they used the time during the rebuilding after that war to be assholes, like they usually are. I mean, who knows? Like. But it's not, you don't need to know, I don't think you need to know the answer to that question to just accept it for what it is right now, because it's not colossally out of bounds. This is not Star Trek Discovery. Holy fuck, where did any of this technology come from? Why do all the Klingons look like this? None of this is out of bounds.
Okay, first of all, don't overstate my confusion with this.
I'm not, I know.
This needs to be explained by the end of the season for this to make sense. Because I don't understand why 92,000 people dying would mean that the Federation's like, well, fuck those 900 million people.
Well, and within the context of within that interview, that mission, that did start. They did start rescuing the Romulans and then for some reason pulled out of it. And I think it had something to do with the attack on Mars.
Yeah, I just don't.
So it's not like they were just like, fuck them. They didn't just say that. It took some convincing.
I don't understand the relationship between the
Neither do I. After one episode of this show, neither do I. But maybe there's something there. Maybe there's fucking not. But it's not entirely unreasonable to me. Especially if you have the Federation suffer a fairly catastrophic blow. And they're like, you know what? Maybe we can't really deal with the Romulans right now. Maybe we need to deal with this crisis surrounding a bunch of fucking renegade androids. Maybe that's what it is. None of this is out of bounds.
It seems strange, and
sure, fine. It seems strange, but
I want it to be explained.
I know. Well, go talk to J.J. Abrams and be like, can you please rewrite this script? So that you can explain clearly what timeline we're in, why this is happening and why that is happening, and then I can enjoy the show. I don't agree with you on that, Tactic Angel. I think there's just enough here for it to be interesting. It's okay to not know. It's, I think, more interesting that way.
There's so. I mean, like, I'm not going to go through like 9 episodes of Lost just to figure out that none of it ever mattered.
This is not Lost.
We'll see what happens. This is what I fear about mystery box plots. Season-long mystery box plots.
Yeah, okay. I like that we have some things left up in the air.
So something happens. Apparently, synthetics attacking Mars equals we don't want to help Romulans.
Potentially, yeah.
So Starfleet decides to become isolationist.
Yeah.
Which,
I don't know.
which I thought was...
The degree to which that... I don't know to what degree that is the case.
I'm not even sure it's functionally possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know where that's really explicitly defined within this episode.
We have these 10,000 worlds, and those are the only 10,000 worlds
yeah.
that we're going to let in.
Yeah.
This is an exclusive club of a few trillion people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't really think that's the case. I didn't really get that impression from this either. Honestly, all I understood was that there was an effort to rescue the Romulans, and they pulled back from that, and that now androids are bad. That's what I understand about the Federation at this point. That's
what I understand as well.
So I think to take it any further than that is maybe premature. After 45 minutes of...
Well, I'm not even sure that this is 45 minutes because, like, the last, like, part of that runtime is more advertisement.
Oh, that is true.
Make sure to watch the next episode. Also, take a look at our extremely long opening credit thing.
Yeah.
Which seems really self-indulgent.
I guess so. I mean, there's a certain other Star Trek
writers
show that I love
on this show. It seemed like a lot.
Yeah. 6 writers? I feel like I don't know what a writer's room consists of, but that's
usually you don't have 6 people credited.
Oh, well, sure. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's just they're becoming more egalitarian in who gets a writing credit.
Potentially.
I don't know. But that plays out in royalties, man.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's one of the reasons why Gene Roddenberry rewrote the encounter at Farpoint.
Yeah.
Because originally that was a Fontana plot.
Oh, decent.
And he rewrote it and added a bunch of stuff that probably made it make a lot less sense.
Okay.
Because honestly, that episode doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it doesn't, but...
But then...
Anything involving Q usually doesn't make much.
Well, that and the... Our cities are made out of jellyfish. What?
Yeah.
Psychic jellyfish. They're very unhappy.
Yeah.
I hate jellyfish. Fuck jellyfish. So he talks to the reporter. I don't know.
Yeah, he talks to the reporter.
Do you have anything to say about that scene?
No. I mean, I thought it was fine.
I gotta come back to it.
Okay.
So Dodge sees this interview and goes to France with her head wound.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, do you know who I am? And he's like, what? And that is a scene.
Yeah.
Then she leaves.
I liked that scene.
I didn't have anything really.
There's one very particular reason that I like that scene, and that is because that is when she approaches Picard and she's all freaked out and she doesn't know why she's there, how she got there, or why he's in her head. All of that shit. She's trying to explain to him, and he just takes her hands and asks her first to please calm herself. To just calm down, try to calm down for a minute, and then tell me, what you're doing here.
That's pretty misogynistic.
I fucking loved it because I immediately thought, now how would Michael Burnham handle this situation?
She would start crying. She
would amp it up. They would just amp it up.
But the truth is this would never happen to Michael Burnham because she would see this person and it's like, listen, I am the most important person in this plot.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't have problems.
See, I liked that scene because you have a girl who's all fucking freaked out, and rather than match that energy and try to ramp it up to squeeze out every last ounce of drama that you can in any scene, you have this old fuck just asking her to settle down for a minute and then explain what is going on. Why is she here? I like that.
I felt that this was the most Picard scene in it.
Yeah?
Like, he seemed most recognizable in this scene.
Okay.
And it probably has to do with asking questions and being open-minded.
Yeah.
But anyway, apparently he got a little too drunk, passes out at his table, and wakes up the next day to be informed that she has left.
Yeah.
And that there is a painting on his wall that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
That looks a lot like her.
Yeah.
So he goes to San Francisco to look at his stuff in some sort of glowy place.
Yeah, the archives, whatever.
They're the archives.
Yeah.
Apparently it took me a second to realize that woman was a hologram.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But then when she faded out, I felt like...
Yeah, that's pretty clear. It's a hologram.
She must be a hologram.
Yeah. Good job.
Anyway. So he looks at some stuff. He sees that Data painted a picture of this lady 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And named it Daughter.
Yeah.
So that was the reason why he came there.
Well, the reason that he came there was to see it and then see if anybody else had actually accessed it as well.
Mm-hmm. And nobody has.
Yeah.
So that's weird. And then it's named Daughter.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
The mystery box.
Yeah.
Is real. Meanwhile, Dodge goes off, and wherever she's at, it's nighttime. And she talks to her mom, who's probably not a real person.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. Yeah.
I'm going to guess that her mom is a subroutine. Maybe. That manifests as a hologram.
Okay.
Also, I don't like all the holograms.
Okay.
She's like, Mom, bad stuff. And Mom's like, you have to go back to Picard.
Yeah.
And she's like, I didn't say Picard. It's like, sure you did.
Yeah.
So she goes back to Picard, and they meet up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
So he's still there.
Yeah, he's still there.
They talk.
Yes.
And I feel like just as the dialogue is starting to get annoying, they decide to throw an action scene in here.
Yeah.
So Patrick Stewart, who walks with a cane, but runs fine.
Well, he doesn't really run fine.
He runs fine.
No.
He doesn't do stairs.
Yeah.
He doesn't do stairs. So he gets to the stairs and he's like, lady.
Yeah.
You have to give me a minute here. So they retreat to the roof to evade some folks that can transport themselves anywhere.
Yeah.
Which seems like a really bad idea, but... such are the decisions that are made. And then Kung Fu fight that we saw in the preview.
Yeah.
We did not get to see the jump in the preview.
I don't remember the jump.
When she takes a flying leap up 3 flights of stairs.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then she gets up there and she starts like kicking people and like throwing them over balconies. And then she gets hit with the acid and then she dies.
Yeah. Blows up.
Were you annoyed by the amount of action in this scene?
No, I wasn't. No. It was fine. It made sense. I don't know what's annoying about it.
Well, this is a thing that we were kind of like, not sure if when we saw this.
No, I mean, I get that. Yeah, I get if it was, if it was like, if it was meaningless, then yeah, I would have been annoyed. Like if it was just total fucking vanity, if it was just there for show, I would have been annoyed. But it all made sense and I'm engaged enough with the story that it's fine. Like this is a stupid thing I feel like to be. I've seen this criticism before, but like for some reason it seems like there's this idea that Kung Fu and Star Trek are not allowed to mix.
Kung Fu is not allowed to mix with Star Trek.
Okay, that's a retarded ass idea. That is a stupid fucking childish dipshit criticism of this show. I don't remotely respect it. I can tell you Jim Kirk doesn't respect it either, but whatever. I guess the Gorn episode's really bad.
No. So he does Kirk Fu. Right?
There's literally Kirk Fu in what? 75% of Star Trek episodes. How many fucking running around like
where's my two-handed punch? You have to hit them in the shoulder.
I don't give a shit about this. If the idea that Kung Fu is bad for Star Trek, that's a stupid fucking idiot criticism. So I don't have anything really more to say about it. I don't.
I know that you have expressed the opposite opinion as well.
When it's just pure vanity, yeah, then it's really annoying. Like Michelle Yeoh, who is amazing, but watching her have to do this shit in Star Trek Discovery, like it's just boring. It's fucking boring and sad. That's all. Two-handed karate chops, as far as I'm concerned. No story behind it.
Kirk Fu. You gotta do Kirk Fu.
Yeah.
I actually did watch all of The Mandalorian.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, it's Ming-Na.
Yeah.
She's in a pointless fight.
In
The Mandalorian.
Yeah, she's in like one episode.
I know. There, where there is a fight, and you're like, I know why they hired her. That is because she can do the fight stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
She's cool.
So yeah, the what phaser disruptor explodes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So they take the 90-year-old man back to his chateau in France.
Yeah.
Rather than to a hospital.
He's fine. I mean, he wasn't like in the explosion.
He wasn't in the explosion. He was thrown 30 feet.
He was hiding.
But he was fine.
Yeah, he's fine.
You definitely do see him get tossed.
Well, maybe he,
ducked and covered.
Some fucking Starfleet doctor runs the medical tricorder over him. He's fine.
He doesn't have the coverage for inpatient.
Take him home.
Care.
He's fine. I'm sure he was. Well, I don't think he needs it in in the Federation, but yeah.
They have a bed shortage. So he's back home and he's like, oh man, this bummer. Like, Data's daughter is dead.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting here waiting to die.
Yeah.
I actually like those Romulans.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they don't look like Romulans, but that's
yeah, me too.
They don't have like the.
They look. Yeah, I know. But they don't look like.
Let me put it this way.
Un-Romulan.
I am glad that they do not all have the same haircut.
Yeah. I like that too.
I feel like they should physiologically still look like Romulans, though.
I mean, there's gonna be variations, right?
Sure.
We have Asians. They all look weird. But they're still humans, Tactic Angel.
That's a really enlightened thing for you to say.
I know. You're mad about Asian Romulans. Fuck you. Fucking racist.
Who said anything about any of
that? You did. Mad about Asians.
Okay. So this is a scene that happens. He resolves himself to go to the Daystrom Institute.
Yeah.
Which is in Okinawa, Japan.
Yeah.
I'd have gotten some rest. Because, like, the amount of, like, travel this guy does in the course of a day, he would have been awake for, like, 36 hours.
Well, wait, would he get on an airplane?
No, but, like, you're awake in San Francisco time. And then you're awake in France time.
Yeah.
And then you're awake in Okinawa time.
Yeah.
Like, there's some serious amount of day that has passed.
I mean, sure.
For it to be daylight in all three of those places.
Yeah. I mean, he did sleep for a while after that explosion, but...
Is being passed out the same as sleeping? Because I've tried to tell my doctor
you wake up from a coma and you're like, great, like...
You don't have to rest for days.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's how that works.
Okay.
I would consult a physician.
Okay.
So, Daystrom Institute. He goes to the Daystrom Institute.
Yeah.
He meets Agnes Girardi.
Yeah.
Does she have tiny eyes or an enormous face?
I don't know. Jesus Christ.
And she
moving on.
She works on androids, I guess, but only theoretically sort of. Now.
Yeah.
She has B4 in a drawer.
Yeah.
And Picard's like, "Can you make a biological android?"
Yeah.
I kind of feel like a biological android is just a genetically designed creature. I'm not sure what
I don't know. Well, I mean, they would have a positronic brain, right? Like,
would they?
Isn't it like sort of Terminator?
So
cybernetic organism.
So you feel like that underneath Dodge was made out of like metal and had
I don't know.
And just had like flesh grafted over top it?
Yeah, maybe. I don't fucking know.
Okay. I mean, that's possible.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of this plot could have been resolved with a tricorder, though.
Well, certainly, yeah, some things about her, yeah. But I don't know. Maybe
it's have you never been to a doctor?
They have Dr. Hugh level tricorders there.
I don't hear a pulse. There's a ticking. It's consistent. You're probably fine.
Must be fine. Yeah.
I think this patient is in a coma.
Right? Or maybe she's like, she could be like so advanced that whenever she's scanned by a tricorder, it just gives
whatever
back,
they want.
You know, regular human being results.
You scan it.
Why
and
not?
It just on the tricorder, it has just 4 letters, like the
the fucking speak and spell or whatever the hell that
that they had on Kelpie and Homeworld.
Yeah.
and like it'll pop up. It'll be FINE if fine, and it will be SICK if not fine.
Yeah.
Also DEAD.
Yeah.
That's bad news, Jim.
That one's bad. But
so I guess the only thing we really learn out of here is that B4 wasn't quite Data. Someone wants to clone Data.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure how that works. From a positronic neuron.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the positronic
neuron.
I will put it in a petri dish, and it will grow a whole new Data.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of interesting. They want to take that basically and do some math on it, is my understanding. And then they would create, in some sort of fractal way, an image of... And I don't know that it would be necessarily Data, but just the thing, right? The thing that made Data unique was that he was the android that, like, had self-awareness. Like, there wasn't any other Datas, you know?
Well, there was...
So somehow...
There was more, but he was a little bit evil.
Yeah, he was a little tiny bit evil. But yeah, but Data somehow evolved this, like, what effectively appeared to be, I guess, which is, I guess, still somewhat debatable, a true consciousness. And I think that is in essence what they're wanting to replicate.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't know though.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess don't think they expect to like replicate all. Yeah, I don't know.
I think they want to grow a new Data.
Well, that's probably the ultimate goal, but yeah.
But I mean, I guess we'll see. It feels to me as though you should understand that the blueprints to Data are not in every tiny little bit of positronic data.
Well, I don't know if there's enough. I don't know, you know. There is a theory within like the realm of physics that if it's a deterministic, you know, if we live in a deterministic universe, that you can take a small portion of that and be able to calculate the past and the future as well. That you would be able to take those models and translate them into the future and into the past and come up with accurate models of those things. I mean, that's a legit theory.
I get it. I just look at my dog and I just don't think you can discern the meaning of the universe by looking at Chester. Because when I look at him, I look at a person who, not even a person, he's a piece of chattel. And I don't think he understands a lot. He's staring at me and wagging his tail right now. He doesn't.
But you might. I mean, if you could take a piece of Chester and figure out what created the origin of life, which would potentially be contained within him,
I will.
Then yeah, you can calculate all the possibilities that origin could come from. You know, like
you could take the entire dog, and it still wouldn't make.
I don't know. You might be able to figure out where life comes from, and from there, extrapolate.
Okay. Life is not very smart.
Well, it doesn't start out very smart. That is true.
So they go there. I guess what we learn is there are two. They're made in pairs.
Yeah, they're made in pairs for some reason.
Should I add that to the list of things that probably ought to be explained?
Yeah, I would like to know why they're made in pairs.
Is there anything else that happens there?
I mean, not really.
So we learn that there's a pair.
Yeah.
A second one.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Borg Cube.
Yeah, she's on the Borg Cube. What was it titled? Romulan... Fuck. Was it like Romulan Reclamation Site or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to take it that if there's a Borg Cube that's just sitting out there, like abandoned, that the Borg are dead.
I don't know. I mean, that Borg Cube was pretty fucked up. So it looked like it had definitely been in a battle of some kind. I don't know if it was a fight with whatever remained of the Romulans at the time, and they managed to take it over. I was wondering, too, if like it could be just a Borg Cube that was in the Alpha Quadrant, and that after Janeway destroyed the Transwarp Highway, right, had no way of getting back to the Delta Quadrant, certainly had no way of calling in other Borg. And maybe that's how the Romulans were able to take it over. I don't know. Or maybe that destroying the transwarp conduit, maybe that somehow severed their connection to the hive that was left in the Delta Quadrant. I don't know.
All right.
But there's a bunch of possibilities there.
Add it to the list.
Yeah.
The world building list.
Yeah.
We're going to write this down. World building list. Things we would like to understand.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
So I guess for the most part, I imagine that what we will be doing is trying to keep track of if this is a fair representation of Picard in his later years. And then
Okay.
if it was worth doing.
Sure.
Right?
I guess. Yeah.
Because I feel like, I mean, you look at it.
I think if we maybe like narrow down our expectations of Star Trek, right? Because I feel like we were both on the same page at one point regarding this, and maybe we've drifted. But when there's new Star Trek, all I want it to do is be decent. That's it. Just be mediocre.
Well,
that's fucking it. And this show, in my opinion, at least this first episode, actually surpassed that. But I think it at the very least meets it.
So, I mean, okay. When I look at something like this, I look at this as like, yes, I want this to be good as Star Trek. Now,
yeah.
When I say that, even decent as Star Trek, I'm not saying I want this to just be a decent show.
Yeah.
What I want is a show that asks questions and has debates.
Sure.
And explores ideas.
Sure.
And yeah, you can have fun and go on adventures and whatever also.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's good to stop and sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
That's what I would be looking for in Star Trek. And as we were talking about, like, Star Trek Discovery Season 2, there were a couple of episodes that got, like, really close to feeling like they were almost going to be a Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
And then there were time crystals. And time...
Yeah.
Were they timekeepers? Were they...
Yes, they were timekeepers. What's the least creative thing you can think of to call them? That's what they are.
Wizards?
No. Less creative than that. What do they do?
Time.
What do they literally do?
They do the time. So
they fucking keep time.
Timekeeper feels like a position overseeing a chess match. In any case, like, yes, I want Star Trek to not suck. And in the way that, like, when you watch some of the more thoughtful episodes of The Orville, you see that.
Yeah.
As in a show that explores ideas that just doesn't suck.
Yeah.
And in some cases is actually quite good. But
yeah.
But the thing is, like, that's more than just take me on an adventure with Starfleet uniforms and characters who I presumably know.
Sure.
And to the end of characters that I know, like, Picard can't just be Patrick Stewart.
Right.
Like, he has to resemble the character that I remember. And now we do have 20 years. And and right now I would say that Picard isn't all that recognizable as a character.
I totally disagree.
Well, I mean,
I totally disagree.
I would be happy to back that up.
Yeah.
I want him to be a recognizable character if he is going to be in this show. And obviously he's going to be in the show. It's named after him, which seems a little like a vanity project, but fine.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, you name it after me, and I am, like, staring down the audience in the opening. You're like, it's always been an ensemble. Now we haven't been introduced to the whole ensemble. Maybe it works out, but when we're looking at Star Trek Picard, though, I want to be able to watch this, and if the Picard that I see in this isn't the Picard that I know, and it isn't reasonably explained why he isn't, then I'm going to be disappointed in the show.
Sure.
And I don't want it to be embarrassing to that character. Not that him riding around dune buggies and Nemesis was, particularly in character.
I don't even care about that, but yeah.
Well, it just started.
Is it fair enough to suggest that I think sometimes fans place unreasonable and unfair constraints around characters? Because it would be asinine to expect him to be exactly the same. It would be asinine and uninteresting to expect him to be exactly the same character that we saw fucking in the early 90s. I don't think that's remotely fair. This, I think it looks like an old Picard. I think it looks like a Picard who's probably who's just gotten old and is tired and is maybe not as patient as he once was and is maybe a little more stubborn in his beliefs. All of that is a natural extension of the character that we saw. I don't think that's unfair, but if it doesn't like check every fucking box for some fans, I think, and it's completely out of character because he's in a dune buggy, like I can't get behind that kind of just granular like interpretation of a character. It's not reasonable, I don't think.
And what I said doesn't necessarily go against anything that you just said. Because what I said is I want to be able to understand how Picard got to that point if he is going to be different.
Sure.
And
sure.
Otherwise you're doing the writing for the writers, and usually in cases where
there needs to be a certain amount of that though. There has to be. Because having everything fucking explained to you would be a nightmare.
No. You know what I'm talking about. There is definitely a sweet spot where it's like,
yeah,
you are explaining too much.
Yeah.
And there is also, I mean, a plot hole is something that isn't explored.
Right.
And
well, yeah.
And like,
yeah,
it
is in a sense. I guess if we could delineate between sizes of plot holes, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
some are microscopic and don't need to be explained, but yeah.
I'm talking about the ones that, for the most part, audiences
right that you can fit a ship the size of the Discovery into and send it into the future. That's a huge like plot hole when you're like,
or at least halfway into the mycelial network. But as I pointed out, I liked that they knew the difference between port and starboard in that episode. I was not expecting that.
No shit.
So, I mean, when I watch this episode, there are things that are happening with Picard that don't strike the right chord for me.
Okay.
And I want to see why he's gotten to that place.
Like what in particular?
So, all right. Picard's a guy who likes mysteries, right?
Yeah.
He dresses up as Dixon Hill. He runs into the holodeck.
Yeah.
And, that's fine. And there are plenty of episodes where he's, trying to solve a mystery.
Sure.
In TNG.
Sure.
But like in this one, he doesn't really engage with Dodge on that level. He's like, I don't know who you are, but I went over here and saw a painting that my first officer painted 30 years ago that looks a lot like you, and it's called Daughter.
Yeah.
Therefore, you are Data's daughter.
Okay.
You remember your parents? Those people aren't real. The memories that you have in your head, they are not real.
Yeah.
Trust me. I know what's going on. I will never leave you. We're doing this.
Right.
And it's just like, all right, that seems a bit presumptuous. And like,
well,
I mean, you can jump to conclusions.
Well, it's only,
all you want, but...
well, I don't know. What do you mean that like he didn't immediately make the connection between like her and Lal or?
Well, I mean, it would have made a lot more sense if he saw that picture. And this, for the record, I assume that this takes place in 2397.
Okay.
2397 is 31 years after Lal died.
Right.
And they look a substantial amount similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if he painted someone and it said daughter, I would assume he painted Lal.
Yeah.
That would make a lot more sense since it would have been the year after she died.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a much more reasonable conclusion. But
yeah.
But even absent Lal, telling somebody that their memories aren't real because I had a first officer who painted something that looks like you.
Yeah.
30 years ago seems like a bit of a stretch.
Well, I don't understand. He believes, I guess I kind of understand what you're saying, but like, I mean, he believes Lal died.
Yeah.
There is no Lal.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Lal anymore. And there hasn't been for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that he would assume that she's, is your problem that he's assuming that she's not Lal? That he just concludes that right away?
No, my issue is, okay, first of all, there was no Lal connection. And
yeah, that's true.
I want to say that there's...
Honestly, other than that they look a lot alike. That, like, she looks like an older Lal.
I feel like what is happening in that scene is she's like, I have a father and a mother, and he's like, none of that is real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I kind of feel like there needs to be a little bit more investigation. Like, say, I think this.
Okay.
We should go do that.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, no, trust me, lady. I know what's up.
Yeah.
Date is your dad. I'm going to stay with you forever. Let's go. And it's...
Yeah.
And she's like, you're saying I'm some sort of monster? And he's like, no.
I really liked that. I actually really liked that part. I really liked that.
I started to get a little bit like...
Why?
And
why?
It was too many emotions.
No, I really like that she had that reaction. I like that because it makes sense. I like that synths have become kind of boogeymen. It makes perfect sense. And for her to have that kind of reaction, I just felt like an honest representation of what their world is right now.
Maybe. Like I said, we're 45 minutes into this. We'll see where it goes. But I felt like he was making some fairly large jumps.
Okay. That's
and
fair.
I feel like he wasn't as intellectually curious as it.
That's fair. I think you can explain that, but that's fair.
I think his performance in the interview was like really sloppy.
Really?
For Picard? Really? Yes.
I don't think so. No.
Well, okay. Never mind that people don't watch TV in the future, as they've said.
Tom Paris does, motherfucker, but
he does. But his enjoyment of that is treated as sort of strange.
It's a pastime, yeah.
Right? So anyway,
anachronistic maybe. I don't know, but
I appreciate it. It's one of the things that makes Tom one of the more interesting characters on that show.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Not that he's up against stiff competition.
Oh, he's awesome. Best relationship ever as well.
But like,
best Star Trek relationship. To
see Picard get so easily flustered by this interviewer, it's like,
I see, dude. None of this. I guess.
Just follow me through this.
All right. Okay.
So he becomes flustered by an interviewer within like 3 questions, and
an interviewer who lied to him. But yeah,
true. But Picard also stood trial for all of humanity
in the first. Yes,
when he was also in the last episode.
Yeah.
And
yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah,
like this is a guy who has a lot of composure, and like when his command and his legacy and you could very much say his life are called into question in the drumhead, like he doesn't lash out there.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
And then like when he responds to her, he is way too direct.
Okay.
Because Picard usually uses the Socratic method, so he asks a lot of questions. And that goes to his intellectual curiosity that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And it's actually probably one of the reasons that people who name Picard as their favorite captain think of him as their favorite captain. Because he more than anybody was kind of like the consensus builder. Like he would sit down and he's like, let's look at this from, a logical point of view. We're going to take the facts now and do some stuff. And then we'll probably be back in this conference room in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But we're going to make the right decision now. And when it's wrong in 15 minutes, we're going to look at it and figure out why it was wrong and do it again.
Sure.
So, like, this is kind of a missed opportunity in the actual interview because, okay, the interviewer comes at him. What do I envision Picard probably doing? I imagine he would probably question the foundation of her question.
Uh-huh.
And so try to find some sort of truth in what she's saying, and then attack the fundamental flaw that is in her argument.
Okay.
And that would have also been good for me because then I might understand why this world doesn't seem that familiar to me.
Okay.
Because like that would have been some world building.
Yeah.
And that's how you get some of it out of there without people just like, hello, I have an information dump for you.
Right. Right.
And also like when you see him interact in those high stakes sort of things.
Yeah.
Like in the Drumhead. Like he quotes Aaron Satie like in a roundabout sort of way to get to his point.
Okay.
And in this one he kind of is like, well, this isn't really like the pyramids. This is like Dunkirk.
Yeah.
And you're like, first of all, the Dunkirk reference is pretty shaky to begin with. But let's take that as it is.
Okay.
Sure, it's like Dunkirk. He seems to say it in kind of like a gotcha sort of way. And I know all about this because I've been trolling people on the internet for a long time.
Uh-huh.
You don't even know what Dunkirk is. QED, I win the internet argument. And you're like, that seems kind of not super Picard to me.
Okay. Well, I mean, his argument is more, you don't know what war is. That's really more of what I think the point he was trying to get across to that interview with the interviewer at that point. She's never been in battle. She's never witnessed personally, people dying, people sacrificing themselves for the Federation or for whatever. She's never seen any of that. Never participated in that. I feel like it's more her point, not you don't know the finer points of of Dunkirk. I don't think it was that small, that.
I kind of got the feeling that like when she said Dunkirk, and he looked at her like, lady, you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And ignoring the we cannot make the midget radio 1-to-1 comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like a famous like humanitarian effort that he could have quoted. My guess is there probably is. But
sure.
He went with a war thing. And I didn't get the sense, because they weren't talking about war at that point. They were talking about how he had given up his career as the captain of the flagship of the Federation.
Yeah.
In order to go on this humanitarian thing that was like this huge ego project like the pyramids. And he was like, no, it wasn't. It wasn't like the pyramids because that's too vain. It's more like this.
Yeah. And
they hadn't started talking about like, did you ever question your first officer?
Yeah.
They didn't start into that whole androids are bad thing yet. And that's when you get this is when how people fought and died. And this is how meaning is imparted into their actions. Like that came later. So unless he knew she was going to go even further down a rabbit hole that she promised she wouldn't, then I don't think he was setting her up to be like, you don't even know what Dunkirk is, and storm off the set. I don't know.
I don't know either. I
don't like Picard running away from an argument.
Okay, couple things. I only sort of followed some of that toward the end, but
I've refilled my glass.
One, Captain Picard is not Marcus Aurelius in like written form. Like he's not like Marcus Aurelius's perfect, fucking meditations. This is your entire image of me, right? This guy who's basically just fucking perfect.
No,
I'm sure Marcus Aurelius got pissed off at times too. And we've seen Picard get pissed off and not employ this sober-headed Socratic method to every fucking conflict that he's ever encountered. We've seen that happen because he is a human being. And I think here we have a human being who is in his 70s. I mean, and he's being ambushed. They're not supposed to go into any of this, so it doesn't surprise me that he's not perfectly composed. Fucking Jean-Luc Picard, the eminent diplomat of Starfleet. None of that is shocking or remotely out of character to me. And this is like we have to let this guy fucking grow a little bit. And part of that, or not so much grow, we have to let him age. And part of that's going to be, maybe he's just a little bit fucking tired of answering this kind of bullshit. Or maybe he just has less patience with this crap, which I like. I like that. Jean-Luc Picard, it reminds me of a conversation that I had about fucking Bob Dylan. Where, 10 years, maybe more than 10 years ago, Bob Dylan did a fucking commercial for Victoria's Secret. And there were people who were pissed off about that because Bob Dylan is this symbol of counterculture and anti-consumerism and all of this shit, right? He's this fucking hero who stood for all of these things, and now 30 years, 40 years after that, now he's in the middle of a fucking Victoria's Secret commercial selling panties or God knows what. And that seems sad. But it's like, it's Bob Dylan. He did his time. He stood for all those things. And now that he did a Victoria's Secret commercial does not mean that he is just a weak piece of shit now. It doesn't invalidate anything that came before. It's not grossly out of character. He's just old. And Picard is old too. So I think to expect this idyllic version of Jean-Luc Picard is not fair. It's just a little unreasonable. And that said, I don't feel like anything that we saw in this first episode was remotely out of character.
I feel like you're arguing against a straw man, because that's not what I said. What I said is...
Well, you're saying that he's not recognizable. What the fuck is your point if you're saying he's not recognizable, but still somehow, apparently... That sounds like out of character to me. That sounds like an argument that he's out of character.
I said either I want them to help me understand why he is this way, or I want them to, like, I would like to see a character that I recognize. So this is a thing...
I guess. Okay.
This is a thing that I'll probably ask every episode. And, I mean, if the writing's there, and then hopefully this turns more into, this is good. I'm glad that they added it to it. And if it's like, meh, then it's probably like, who cares if this actually exists or not? And then it's possible that it's bad. I mean, this was...
Sure, of course. Yeah, it's one episode.
This is a Kurtzman production.
Yeah.
So the possibilities for this to go off the rails it's real.
Yeah.
Now, we all hope that it doesn't.
Yeah.
And some of us have a lot of faith in Patrick Stewart as though he is the same person as Jean-Luc Picard, and he is most assuredly not.
No, he's definitely not.
So, well, I mean, we'll see where it's going. I just want this to be good for the character in the long run. And I don't want this to be like like some embarrassing thing like we were just talking about recently with certain people coming back to roles when they should have just left it alone.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the Harrison Ford. Why does...
Well, this is not...
Why does Stallone...
This is not Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. That's for fucking sure.
Well, it isn't. It isn't right now. So, and that's what we hope that it isn't.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. All right. There's three things I just want to point out as far as like this is Star Trek. I feel like this is Star Trek level stuff, or at least has that potential.
Okay.
And the first two I'm going to kind of blow past, and the third one I kind of want to talk about a little bit. But the first one would be I like the idea of explore, and I hope they explore it a little bit, the conflict surrounding a Romulan rescue effort in the first place, because that seems fair. That seems like perfect Star Trek level fodder. How much effort do we want to really give? Even if you could say it's a retread of Star Trek or a retread of Star Trek 6, that's fine. Yeah, but it's still
Star Trek 6 didn't go into the logistics.
It didn't really. Yeah, it didn't really. But that's something worth exploring. Two, this goes back to like Measure of a Man type stuff, but if you have this apparently contingent of androids that rebel and attack Utopia Planitia and cause a lot of devastation, and then that leads to basically an outright ban on androids, is that fair? Particularly if they're conscious androids. I mean, if you've like that's an interesting thing to explore. Like once essentially humanity has created a life form, I mean, if that's what you're going to call it anyway, if you have a conscious android and you consider it now its own autonomous being, its own thing, and then you ban it, like because a group of them went a little crazy, is that seems like something worth exploring.
Well, that is true. And actually, it was one of the questions that I had floating around in my head, because it's like, somebody find a medical tricorder.
Yeah.
If Dodge has, intel inside instead of a brain.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Now, what does that mean? Because I don't think you can make a person's existence illegal.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it is, and what I find more interesting, because a person's making a person's existence illegal, and if you have the means of, like, just how you would even structure, if it's people that are making, like, if it's Starfleet science officer or whoever making these individuals, does it make sense to, is it okay? Like, is it just to ban the production of it? You're almost banning birth at that point, but it's birth in like a laboratory, and it's just, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting though to think about, if you have, like, if you can create people essentially, and some of them did bad, and now you can't create them anymore because they're machines or whatever. I mean,
so okay, sure, you can go down that path. I think there are some interesting questions. Like, you go back to A Measure of a Man when you're looking at that sort of question, and you say, I feel like, okay, Dodge is a person ish,
yeah,
and if she can demonstrate the three
right
requirements for sentience,
yeah,
then she has to be respected as a person.
Yeah,
and they actually did. I think they mentioned Bruce Maddox in this.
Did. That's actually my third point. Yeah.
So, like, there's some interesting stuff there. I don't think they're going to go in that direction because it kind of looks like they're going to play like Outlaws, Firefly style. I don't want to speculate too much about what's going to come next. I'm just talking about what was presented in this episode. Oh, sure. But I'm just saying, when I look at the cast and I go, all right, these people are going to be doing like a space adventure. Sure. I cannot completely ignore the things that I know outside.
No, I know. That's fair.
So
anyway, that's
if they talk about Bruce Maddox and they want to explore these additional ideas, yeah, sure. Yeah. I think that you could go into, well, reproduction, how does that work?
Yeah.
But like, this is like third party reproduction.
I know, right? That's what makes it more interesting. Because you're like, well, what the fuck? We're talking about shutting down a factory, right?
So yeah, go on with your.
Okay, so anyway, so that's number 2, and these are things that are just, I feel like, set up in this episode. The third thing is the Bruce Maddox thing, and I think that's maybe a slightly more conclusive. And the thing in particular that I like about it is that if you go back and watch, The Measure of a Man, he's the bad guy. Like, he's a bad guy in that episode, right? He's this aggressive, fucking strong-headed scientist who wants to rip apart data because he's just so confident that he's going to learn what makes data tick and that he's going to be able to reproduce data subsequently, even though he's not ready. Like, his fucking pride is in the way.
But there is one thing that's beautiful about that episode is that when Maddox loses, first of all, he accepts his defeat.
Yeah.
But he also seems to have gained a certain amount of respect for what data
that is what you are hopefully left with at the end of that episode, and I feel like this reinforces that. That this episode reinforced that Maddox, I think, did experience a kind of change in his attitude, that he was the strong-headed bad guy and ended up going through this experience and changing and having such a strong respect for artificial life that he continued to research it even after the ban and felt like it was wrong for Starfleet to ban artificial life and continued his own development of it. I think all of that is fucking great.
I mean, if we go down that road and we have like Bruce Maddox as like the hero, then that would be great. Right? And actually, that would be the perfect sort of thing that you would need in a modern day Star Trek. Where there are so many people who are just completely unwilling to talk to other people. Yes,
because what happens? Jesus Christ, can you imagine that character in Discovery? He would have been airlocked because he was the bad guy. Because he's bad. And that's it. He's wrong.
No, see, in Star Trek, we beam people.
That is true. Space. Beam people into space, yeah.
What a fucking disaster.
So that this episode, I think, kind of reinforced that sort of redemptive narrative. that Bruce Maddox would have. I responded pretty strongly to that because again, it felt like a complete fucking. It just felt completely different from what we've seen, certainly in Discovery, and it feels, and it certainly, and I guess what Discovery represents about current day culture.
Yeah. I mean, I hope you're right. And actually, that would be a really interesting place for it to go.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we see that instead of like meaningless space adventure.
Yeah. I mean, I we're going to get that. We're going to get, stupid space adventure. I mean, there's what I'm assuming he's got to be a Romulan with a sword. Like, of course.
It can have, okay. Worf has a battle.
Yeah.
And he uses it plenty.
I know.
But it can have elements of that. My concern when I said that is I don't want it to be just Firefly.
I agree.
With a Star Trek coat of paint.
I agree.
Because Firefly isn't Star Trek.
No, it's fucking not. No. It's wonderful, but no. Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
I can like two things that are different and not want them to be the same.
Of course.
All right. Do we have anything else that we need to add?
No, that's it. That's it.
Well, then that has been the Wednesday Night Gentleman on the latest Star Trek episode. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this not exactly brief trek. Think about hitting that like or subscribe button and join us for more treks in the future. For now, it is time for us to boldly go. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.